Yeah, good evening to all of you, my international family, everybody out there. Peace to you. Human beings trying to make sense of it all, us being on this planet, us being in this universe, trying to understand the good from the bad, or at least what it is all about. At least for me, sometimes it's not so easy, but we gotta do it because we are still here. Um, Especially greetings to the youths around me here in South Tyrol. I know some of you are really listening to what I say. Peace to you and much respect, and thanks also. Of course, as always, much respect to all the hustlers out there who are living through hardships anywhere in the world, some in very, very difficult places. Shout out to the people in Gaza, in Palestine, also the people in Sudan, in the Congo, everyone living up against oppression. Special shout out to a lady in Gaza. Her name is Ahmad. She contacted me on the Facebook. We are connected. Thank you for the Facebook friendship. Peace and love to you and your children. Anybody who wants to show support and solidarity, you can contact me on Facebook. My name is Ivo Pasla. Okay, on Facebook, I twisted the surname. I write it in the comments. Um, so if you want, you can also link up to Ahmed. She's in Rafah together with her three children in very difficult situations, living through genocide. So if you can support, of course, morally, of course, also economically, because everything is too expensive if it's even available. So talking about Palestine, the horror is continuing in Gaza and in the whole of Palestine, specifically in Gaza, but also in the West Bank. So just before I saw another video of an explosion in Gaza, I saw how a very, it's like I saw another picture of explosion, horrible, and yeah, it's still continuing. People still don't have food. Uh, the support is not entering well. The genocide is continuing. So it's almost 7 months of full-blown genocidal violence supported by our Western governments. We have to continue speaking about it. So shout out to the youths who are breaking the silence. Everybody who is breaking the silence. Also here, specifically in the Central Europe, where the silence is also very, very violent. I'm talking about South Tyrol as a German speaker. I'm talking about the whole German society, also Germany, Austria, Switzerland. I hear the silence for 7 months. Of course, the violence is going on for much longer, and it's colonial violence, it's racism. The silence about racism is like it's hundreds of years old. Today, I'm grateful there is one lady I got to know. She's a German speaker like me here in South Tyrol. She's a professor of history and she's holding some very interesting knowledge. She has been traveling a lot. She has been like she's older than me and already in the 80s, in the 90s, she's been traveling some places like Arab countries, been living there for some time. She holds knowledge, so she was also sharing with me a documentary about the massacre that the French committed against the Algerian people in Paris in October 1961. Knowledge that they try, not knowledge. Yeah, we can get the knowledge if we research, but otherwise it's very difficult to hear about it because the empire always try to cut it out. Of course, they don't want us to know about it. The French, they try to cover up their atrocities, their violence. Each empire does. And what we are seeing happening today in Palestine is just another very, very crazy example of colonial racist violence, a settler apartheid colonial system that is committing genocide with our full Western support. And it's 7 months now that I see it daily. I'm an old person on Facebook. Daily I see the killings, displacement, people being starved, people dying, whole families dying, like up to now we have like more than 34,000 confirmed murdered human beings, out of whom I think more than 14,000 confirmed murdered children. Those are only the confirmed ones. There's many other thousands who are not confirmed, not yet found, not yet counted because they're still under the rubble. We see this. I am seeing it for 7 months, day by day. And on the other hand, I'm seeing the silencing happening in a way that is almost incredible by the dominant media, who fully silences ongoing genocide, who is not speaking about it, who is not speaking about the support that this genocidal system gets by our governments, by our Western governments. Germany being one of the major, I think the second biggest supporter of Israel when it comes to weapons and economic support. Italy is also fully supporting Israel ideologically, with weapons, with geopolitical backup. And of course, the United States of America, who for decades and decades are backing up this settler colonial structure. So, very important. Jewish voices for peace in the Middle East. Jewish people everywhere in the world are standing up against genocide. They're standing up for human rights, also for Palestinian people. In the United States of America, specifically, where the Jewish community is very big, it's like millions of people and hundreds of thousands are standing up for the Palestinian rights. More and more Jewish people are speaking up against Zionism, and they are speaking up and they are making it very clear that being a Jew does not mean being Zionist. It is not the same thing. It should not be conflated. But there is a very violent system that wants to make us believe that Judaism and Zionism are just the same. That every Jew is like committed to Zionism, is committed to the state of Israel. And of course, a lot of Jewish people are brought up in this belief that Israel is the only safe place for Jews. So I watched a documentary just before on Al Jazeera, a very interesting one also about this same topic. I link it up. I'll find it again. I link it up in the description. It's about a movie that came out, a documentary that came out exactly on this topic. Um, man, it's called Israelism. Israelism. And let me see. Yeah, I link it up in the description. The movie is called Israelism. The producer is Erin Axelman, and the main protagonist is Simone Zimmerman, and they are talking to Al Jazeera about their movie. And this movie shows especially this, the way that many Jews are being indoctrinated by Zionism, but also the way that many Jews, especially young people also nowadays, are breaking from this indoctrination, are stepping up against the racist ideology of Zionism and against the genocidal racist system that is active in Israel against the Palestinian people. So, a very interesting documentary. I link it up. Um, Breaking the silence. Yeah, by the way, there's an organization called called so Breaking the Silence. It's an organization in Israel by ex soldiers of the IDF, of the military, soldiers that broke from the military and are speaking up because they are fed up, because they are regretting what they did in the IDF, and they are bearing witness to the horrible things that they were doing, and they are now, stepping up against this horrible system and speaking out. So it's an organization called Breaking the Silence. Of course, easy to be found online. I'll also link it up in the description. So here, the silence in South Tyrol is horrible. It's crazy. Like the media is silencing the situation through and through and through and through and through for the past 7 months, and of course for years before. I'm thankful for everybody who's breaking this silence. Of course, now we are starting to prepare for the 25th of April, which is the day of liberation from fascism. There will be demonstrations. Let us speak up for Palestinian rights and for human rights for everyone. As long as we are silencing this violence, this ongoing genocide, everything else is just hypocrisy. That is why a lot of so called leftish talk in Europe is very, very hypocrite, because we cannot talk about blah blah. We cannot talk about, I don't know, gender equality, environmental justice, um, social justice. Here in Europe or in the world, while we are committing genocide, while we are complicit in an ongoing genocide, and we just don't talk about it, we just pretend it's not happening, or we justify it, or we legitimize it, we justify it in a very racist way. It just doesn't work. It does not work like that. So, shout out to all the students and professors worldwide who are speaking up against this system, especially also in the United States, in the University of Southern California, where students are massively resisting the oppression of the university system that is trying to silence them. I think in the last 3 or 4 days they are now setting up a pro-Palestinian camp in the campuses. There is a lot of repression from the whole university system and the police. Students and professors are resisting it and continuing to speak up against the genocide and for human rights for everybody. We have to do the same everywhere, and also here in South Tyrol. In Germany, I just repeat, we have to check on what's happening there. Germany, that is fully complicit because they are still supporting Israel with weapons, with money, with geopolitical backup. And they are silencing voices heavily. I repeat, I've said it yesterday and the other day, they have cancelled a conference, a pro-Palestinian conference. They are silencing people, banning people. They are banning Yanis Varoufakis, amongst others. A Palestinian doctor who was supposed to speak was banned from Germany, is not allowed to enter and speak. Very violent. So they were arresting Jewish activists, and asking them whether they are anti-Semites. That happened a few days ago. I'll also link up. I'll put some links about it. So resistance is a must, and now that we are going towards the 25th of April, we have to remember that everything is nothing as long as we are complicit in genocide and pretending that we are not, pretending that we don't see, or we find the excuses that we are hearing for years and years and decades and decades. So if you're a student, check whether your professors are talking about it or not. And if they're talking about it, of course, check on how they're talking about it. So we know derailing, how we know whiteness is derailing from, from anti-racism. Whiteness is always justifying the racist, settler, colonial, apartheid systems. There's a lot of ways of justifying. One way is saying that no, it's all complicated. Of course, one way is calling the other the terrorist, the barbar, and justifying racist violence like that, saying that it's necessary because the other one is the barbar, is the terrorist, so we have to kill them. The other way is saying that it's all too complicated. Let's not talk about it. It's too complicated. It's only experts who can deal with it. It's too much for us to check. Or maybe you're too young to understand it, because maybe your students, maybe the professors are like, no, it's too complicated, or you're too young. Let's deal with old things that happened, like I don't know when. Uh, But now this is ongoing settler colonial violence, is ongoing racist genocide. It's not complicated. It is not complicated. We just have to listen to the people who are speaking against it for years and decades. Also scientists, also historians, also Israeli historians, racist Israeli scientists who speak about it for many years. I'll put the names again in the description. You have, like Norman Finkelstein and the likes. Of course, the very brave journalist of Haaretz, Gideon Levy, who is still speaking up to today, amongst others. I'll put the links in the description. Thank you for checking in today also. Let's prepare for the 25th of April. We have to speak up against the whole oppressive system, and today it means also speaking up for Palestinian liberation and human rights for everybody. Good night.